So, you'd like to learn augmented reality, but are overwhelmed by the hundreds of terms and acronyms. There's AR and VR and MR and XR and RR and all the R's. Like, what does it even mean? Luckily, you don't actually have to memorize that alphabet soup in order to get going. And augmented reality is not really like a single thing. It's an ecosystem of devices and platforms and creative possibilities and spatial techniques. So today, we're actually going to be going over an overview of that so that you can get your bearings and get started making things. So, hi. If you don't know me, I'm Heather. I am an immersive artist and maker of all sorts of things, and I've made a lot of augmented reality for several years now. So I've worked with a lot of the big names in the space. I've also worked with like public institutions and individuals, and for myself, I've made everything from wearables to big full-scale public art events with scavenger hunts and projection mapping, integration, and all sorts of stuff. So I've been in the biz for a while, and I feel like I've learned some things that I could pass along to you to make your path easy. Like, you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. So I've collected a lot of the things that I've learned into a new series called the AR Creator Course, which is going to be available partly here on YouTube, but also fully on my Substack. There's lots of free resources as well as the whole complete package. Details below if you're interested in that. But with that, why don't we get started with the good stuff? Realities. Notice that I put an S on that. Okay, so let's talk about the umbrella under which all of the other R's cluster beneath. This is the XR umbrella, so it means extended reality. And essentially the X is like a variable. It could mean a bunch of different things, and that's why everything lives beneath it. Let's start with VR because it's probably the best known. This is fully virtual reality. So when you put on a headset, you're completely engulfed in a virtual world, be it a fantastical landscape on an alien planet or a diner in the 50s. You are there and you are fully engulfed. A little bit closer towards reality is augmented reality. Instead of fully replacing all of the physical world around you, it simply augments it. It adds a virtual layer on top of it. Okay, now let's get to MR, also known as mixed reality. And this is where things get a little spicy. So there's certain people on the internet and in the industry just generally that love to argue about the difference between AR and MR. And I know that this industry is essentially living on shifting sands and that life is short. So I don't really care, to be totally honest, and I use these terms kind of interchangeably. But here is how I create a distinction in my mind between them. Augmented reality is more of an overlay, whereas mixed reality is where there is a digital overlay that is deeply integrated into the physical world in meaningful ways. So this is like a virtual ball that then bounces off of your floor, or something in your actual environment that integrates the GPS and the weather data and all this other information about the surfaces around you in a meaningful, intelligent way. I think of that as mixed reality because it's more mixed, but that's me, you do you. I am just here to report my perspective. And lastly, as a general term, let's talk about spatial computing. So Apple has supercharged this word and really gotten behind it, but it's actually pretty simple. Spatial computing means that the computer understands and uses the space around you. That's it. It's actually really simple. Okay. So let's talk about all of the different places that augmented reality projects can live. This is where some people sort of get confused sometimes, but like there are 3 primary spaces that augmented reality can exist in. So number 1, which is the most common, is mobile AR. So this is augmented reality that exists in a native app on your phone or your tablet device. So think of this as like Spark AR, RIP, which was the filters that were available on Instagram, or the lenses that are on Snapchat that let you turn yourself into like a weird bunny or whatever. You can also create your own custom apps using frameworks like Apple's AR Kit or Google's AR Core as the backend, the AR technology essentially that does all of the AR things within your application. Web AR. This is probably my personal favorite because it's so deeply accessible. All it means is that it's augmented reality that runs in your browser. So if you have a browser and the capabilities on your particular device, then you can run augmented reality. It's deeply rooted in the idea of open XR standards, which I am definitely for. Open standards essentially mean that all of the companies develop particular file formats in a particular way. Everyone is using the same dictionary and the same output so that everything can talk to everything. It's open, right? Doing that within the web landscape was deeply transformative. It's actually what enabled the internet that we have today to exist. Love it or hate it, there's some pretty impressive stuff and some pretty important stuff that the internet and the web have offered us, like me being able to talk to you right now. Hello. That said, we need the same sort of thing in extended reality, because the truth is that a lot of these experiences are behind gated platforms, or they exist in a file format that can't be read from, by any other application. And so if you make a project within it and that particular software, goes to the graveyard, then RIP your project. Like you can't run it on anything anymore. And unfortunately, that has happened a lot in the space. So open standards are actually great for everybody. They're great for the companies that are building these technologies. They're great for the people using them, and they're good. Heather for open standards in XR. A little caveat of using web AR. Because it's running in a browser, it is a little bit more limited at this moment compared to native AR apps as far as what it can do functionality-wise, because it's running everything through that browser layer. So the trade-off is maybe that you don't have quite as many features if you develop for web AR. Just keep that in mind. Drumroll. Last but obviously not least is glasses and headsets, which, some people are excited about. This is definitely where the medium starts to take flight and do what it can do especially well, because you no longer have the frame of the phone, right? You have the world, and your hands and your body are free, and you can live in a more embodied way within these experiences. Snap has just announced, like a few weeks ago actually, that they're going to be creating and releasing the first line of consumer-ready augmented reality glasses sometime this year. I'm not going to guess as to when, but maybe fall. I just guessed. Anyway, with that, I've been developing for Specs for several years now, actually, and I know a lot about the ecosystem and what's possible within it, and so I'll be talking about that within this course too, so stay tuned for more. There's an airplane, so let's drink some coffee. Go juice. Okay, so now let's talk about platforms. Platforms. Everyone always asks, like, what AR platform should I use? And the answer is truly, it depends. It depends on what you want to do, who your audience is, the distribution channel that you want to choose. Some are better for artists, some are better for developers, some are better for enterprise clients. Do you want it to be on a wearable? Do you want it to be on mobile? All of these questions need to be taken into account. And actually, there's a lot to wade through in this. So I've actually created a resource for you guys, which is available for free on my Substack. It's linked below, where I talk about some of the main players in this space and what they're good at, and where you can download them and learn about them, etc. So hopefully that will help you sort through which platform to use. Now, I do want to say there's a bit of a warning tale in here, which you may have seen some of my other videos, but there have been several AR platforms that have expired. RIP. So Adobe Aero, Spark AR, Torch, they're accumulating. With them, all of the projects and experiences that were made for them went away, which is sad, right? So I do want to say that no matter what you use, I would like you to remember that no platform is permanent, and that your skills are transferable, not necessarily your projects at this point. So you need to document your pieces as much as possible, and also keep the assets around if you want to rebuild them in another platform down the line. So what platform do I use? Well, thanks for asking. That's a good question. It also depends on what I am building and who I am building it for. Right now, though, I primarily use Lens Studio, and it's the one that I'll be using for the most part throughout this course, although I'll highlight some other ones as well. And there's a few reasons why. So number one, it's one skill that opens many doors. Lens Studio offers you the ability to distribute to a lot of different platforms. You can distribute to Snapchat, so that's their native AR app. You can also distribute to web AR, so they have an option in their dashboard to basically transform any lens into a web AR experience, thereby making it a whole lot more accessible for folks, because not everybody has Snapchat, right? And lastly, but not leastly, is that a word? You can send them to Specs, which are their new AR glasses, which, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be available to the public sometime this year. I feel like that's great. You can build one place, distribute multiple places. Also, it's free. I feel like Lens Studio is a great platform for growth. So if you start out brand new, there are templates that you can use that are going to make it super easy, no code options, that kind of stuff. And when you dig in and get your bearings and start to be a baddie, you can also do really advanced things within Lens Studio. And that's one of the reasons why I like it, because I've been in it a while and I like to push the edges. I like to see what happens when I poke things and do new things. So this whole series has really been designed to be platform agnostic. It's really about the concepts and the ways to think, the ways to build and design and to craft these immersive experiences from tip to tail. And those skills, my friend, they will also go with you no matter what platform you use. I hope you got something. Stay tuned for the next episode where we'll be talking about how to think spatially, okay? In space. That's what this is, space. With that, happy making. Okay, bye.